It's memories that I've come here to forget.
Of something or a woman?
Monster.
Ready? Background action, come alive, and action.
Production of Hope Springs began in the rainy and cold Vancouver autumn of 2001. It's based on the novel New Cardiff by Charles Webb, who also penned the book The Graduate, on which the acclaimed film is based.
The idea of doing something that had been written by Charles Webb was immediately appealing. And the interesting thing about reading New Cardiff was that this had that same kind of tone and same kind of quirky humour.
Do you want some?
Not this morning, thanks.
Writer-director Mark Herman, who wrote and directed the critically acclaimed films Brassed Off and Little Voice, was eager to take on Charles Webb's clever text.
I thought the novel was so brilliant. And it also felt like a screenplay.
You and Vera must have been really close.
I was on that mailing list.
The book was doing the rounds in London as a galley copy, long before it came out.
A very old friend of mine had found the book as well and sent it to me.
It was one of those glorious coincidences. I made an Importance of Being Earnest with Colin, and we were sitting around on set, and he was talking about this book that he liked very much, and it turned out to be New Cardiff. So I was able to turn to him and say, I own that book. So I was thrilled that he liked it, and so really from that moment on, he was always going to do it.
The role of a young Brit just arrived in the US like a fish out of water seemed perfectly suited for Firth.
I worked hard on creating who this character was, but it was rather elusive.
I'll call you right back, Mandy.
And action!
In fact, all of the book's characters seemed tailor-made for this cast.
Each of them recognises a bit of themselves in their character. There's a part of Heather that would quite like to be a small-town girl. I think she sees a lot of herself in Mandy, and I think similarly with Minnie and Vera, you know, that each of them individually has sort of picked up on their character.
Action!
Certain things in their characters that they've tapped into.
I'm afraid you're going to have to vacate this area.
The swimming pool?
Oh, the entire complex. We've had trouble with your kind before.
What?
It's partly the nature of the script, but it's also some sort of chemistry that happens. I don't know why. Maybe it's that we're all in one hotel.
Colin Firth and Minnie Driver had ample time to develop chemistry. They've known each other since the early days of their careers.
It was sort of interesting that Colin and Minnie have known each other since they were sort of actors trying to get a gig and hanging around in London doing nothing. So they've sort of got a lot of history like the characters that they play.
Colin.
What?
What's this?
That's a machine for drying hair, Vera. It's called a hairdryer.
Because we know each other well. We have I think, a very good rhythm together as friends.
She seems like a very sweet person, Mandy. She's so vivacious and bubbly and fun.
Ah, right, so you think she's stupid.
And that sort of translates very easily. I think there's an English thing as well.
By the way, is it Mandy with a Y or Mandy with an I with a little circle above it?
I think a lot of the humor comes from contrasting the British and American ways of life and how we're separated by a common language, and we think we're talking about the same thing, but we're not.
Are you happy, Colin?
Generally speaking, yes.
Why are you happy?
Oh, I don't know. It's probably because we're not both being scraped off the front of a truck. Little things like that tend to cheer me up.
I really like Colin. Like, he's fun, he's easy to talk to, and he has a really great sense of humor. He's really easy to tease. The things we used to do in there.
Non-botanical things.
Non-botanical things.
Yeah.
What are these? Actually, I imitate his accent a lot. I'm like, oh, caramel. Like, he says, like, caramel, you know, and I'm like, it's caramel. Like, so I'll make fun of, like, how he pasta. You know, like, I'll imitate his accent a lot.
Splendid.
Splendid.
Mocking the traditional uptightness of, you know, the old uptight schoolmaster from another country or something. And that's definitely reflected in the script.
Okay, cut.
Actors on both sides of the Atlantic were equally unnerved by Mark Herman's decidedly reserved directorial style.
He doesn't communicate so much in words, but just in his demeanor, you learn to read that. And one of the most spine-chilling spectacles I know is Mark coming towards you after a take with the script in his hand, looking thoughtful.
Cut.
It would be, I'm not angry with you, Colin. I'm just disappointed. If you get sort of the eyebrows going up a little bit like that, that's praise indeed.
It's like Mark being, like, very happy and very sad. I don't know if you could really tell the difference. Colin says he's like a Yorkshire guy, which doesn't mean anything to me because I'm American.
I'm a Yorkshireman, and people in Yorkshire don't go over the top about, you know, with any praise. So the slightest nod, you know, that's Yorkshire for, that was wonderful, darling.
If he says moving on, that's his way of saying, like, very good.
Mary Steenburgen once got thumbs up, which I mean, you know, it made me blush to see that coming from him.
If he gives you like that, that's worth, you know, 100 accolades from somebody who's much more effusive. And I happen to kind of like that and trust it. I think he's wonderful.
Not so wonderful for the cast and crew was the steady flow of rain in British Columbia, which was the setting for the fictional New England town of Hope.
It's like the wettest place I've ever been in my life. You know, we have been shooting scenes where it's been pouring with rain and we've managed to hide it. It's just tough, like at the big cannonball party. You've got 100 extras just trudging in the mud and pretending to have a good time.
And remember, you're having a good time, even though it's raining. And background action.
The trick is to think about the lenses you use. You know, the longer the lens, the more you can throw the background out of focus and hide the fact that the rain is falling.
So you want me to go? A free fillet of fish tonight?
It is harder. I mean, it's harder for the extras. I mean, the actors are sort of cosseted and looked after, and the extras are standing around the pissing rain, and it's freezing cold. But everyone's apparently taken happy pills in Canada, because they're always smiling and they're always happy, even when they're really pissed off, which is odd, but nice.
Oh, just smile and forget it's raining. Don't think about it. Throw the umbrella down and go at it. It's pretty easy and fun.
It's basically a perpetual monsoon, but we've blasted our way through it.
Ultimately, the upside for Colin Firth was getting to work with his two co-stars.
It's not going to hurt, is it, to be fought over by two beautiful women, and I consider it to be the antidote to Bridget Jones, where I had to fight another rival Englishman for the heart of the girl. And then the number of films that I've done over the last 10 years where I've actually lost a girl to somebody whose last name is Fiennes, actually. And this time I think it's payback time.
Stop!